Let me ask you something. Why is it that almost none of us like our websites? I feel like as business owners, whenever something seems like it's not quite right, the first thing we feel like we need to do is a full rebrand. But before you dive headfirst into picking out new colors and fonts, let's talk about the one thing you have to do before you go on changing all of the visual parts of your brand. And honestly, most graphic designers and content managers are probably going to agree with me here. Before you start like plastering your walls with paint swatches from Lowe's or wherever, you need to have a core brand message. But before we dive in, let's talk about what I actually mean when I say brand message. Brand message is the overall impression that people get about you and your business. It's not just like a cute little tagline, a jingle or whatever. This includes things like the words you use to tell people about the problem you solve, how you solve that problem, and the successes that your potential buyers will experience after they work with you. Yes, your brand message has a lot to do with the words you use, but it's really about the core values of your business. What are those things that you believe in above all else? What are like some of the things that happen in whatever industry you're in that make you immediately like whip out your soapbox and start off on this long monologue? What are some of the things that you want your audience to feel and experience more than anything else in the world? A solid brand message is going to convey those things very simply and very clearly. All right, let's dive into 5 reasons why you should focus on your brand message before you invest in your visual branding. Number 1, the visuals really won't matter if nobody understands what you're selling. As a small business owner, you have the ability to change someone's life. I don't care if you sell jewelry or you're a weight loss coach, you hold the key to something that could literally change someone's life. You hold it in your hands. That is a responsibility you should take very seriously. So, if you're relying on just your visual branding to tell your audience what you do without having the right words, you are leaving way too much up to their imagination. They may decide something about your business that isn't even remotely true just because you didn't have the right message to tell them. Visuals alone aren't going to communicate the value and like the true importance of what you have to offer. Number 2, you need to establish an emotional connection with your audience. We buy things on emotion and then we justify them logically. Honestly, that's just how our brains were designed to work. We as customers are more likely to buy from brands that we feel an actual like emotional connection with. And part of that emotion and that connection is based on trust. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times. But when you use language in your brand message that's very simple and very easy for really like the everyday person to understand, it helps create and establish that trust much more quickly. So there's actually a part of our brain that runs on basically autopilot all the time. It is constantly scanning the world around you for things like that could be potentially harmful to you or that it views as harmful. When you use words that your audience has to figure out like exactly what you're trying to say, that automatic part of their brain starts immediately throwing red flags. And it thinks that you're trying to hide something. It throws that flag and says, nah, there's got to be something they're not telling us. Why else would we have to decode something? Like, why else would we need to really think about what they're trying to tell us? Now, your customer probably doesn't even realize that their brain is doing this. They just know that they're just going to keep scrolling right past your business because they have to work too hard. Number 3, a visual brand should tell a story. Almost any good designer is going to tell you the same thing. The visual parts the visual parts of your brand are an extension of who you are as a business. Visual branding is a big investment, and honestly, it should be. When you're working with a great designer, they're going to want all these details of who you are as a brand. When they have that information and it's easy for them to understand, they're going to be able to truly bring your brand to life in ways that words just really can't do on their own. Stories help to grab our attention and keep us engaged. And when your visual brand and your brand message work together, you can create a meaningful and really long-lasting connection with your audience. All right, number 4, your brand identity helps guide all of the future decisions you make in your business. So your brand's identity is also called an archetype. It's kind of like if you were to take a personality test for your business. When you know the personality you want your brand to embody, you're able to make decisions easily because you already know your values, you know what you stand for, and you know what does and doesn't align with those values. You know that right off the bat. And again, it just helps guide every decision you make from here on out. This could be coming up with new offers, new products, the strategy of how you market your business. This goes into copywriting and the words you use, the brands that you partner with. Like there's a laundry list of things. So for example, if your brand is built around luxury, you know what you should and shouldn't be doing to maintain that luxurious feel. If you're built around sustainability, you know the ways that you need to be creating products. You know how you need to market your business. All of that is going to be rooted in that core value of sustainability. And last, number 5, having a brand message creates consistency across all of the platforms that you're on. No matter where your potential customers find you, they're going to get the same overall feeling about your brand. This could be email, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever. This is critical for building trust. It tells them they can know what to expect from you when they work with you. Do you remember when we talked about that automatic part of the brain earlier? That part of the brain is actually a little bit of a pessimist in a lot of ways. It really likes the status quo. It likes for things to stay the same so it knows what to expect. It knows what's coming. And when it knows what's coming, it tells us we're safe, that there's nothing we need to worry about coming to harm us. But when it sees something that's outside of that normal, it immediately alerts us that something's wrong. Something's not quite right. It's almost like it wants to say, ha, told you we needed to watch out for this guy. If your message and just overall vibe comes across differently based on where you're showing up, which platform you're posting on, it looks like you have multiple personalities and you're unreliable. Without even realizing it, you're telling your customers they can't guarantee which one of those personalities they're going to be working with. Of course, there are going to be those nuanced differences based on whatever platform you're using, but your brand needs to have the same overall message and the same core values that you're showing. Consistency builds trust. Trust creates authority, and being an authority is what makes people want to work with you. And there you have it. Those are the 5 reasons why you need to focus on your brand message before you focus on your visual branding. The visuals are so important. But knowing that your message and your brand identity will help you tell a better overall story, that means that you're going to be able to create a deeper connection with your audience and sell more.